Hello, my name is Graham Spencer, and I am here today presenting my SWOT analysis and strategic action plan for school safety and cleanliness, part of my EDL 6120 course at Belmont University. Thank you so much for joining us as I can present to you today. We are going to look at school safety and cleanliness as a way of creating a sense of security and belonging for our students at schools across the United States. This is important because school budgets are restricted by local, state, and federal funding. It's very hard for school districts to receive additional funding. Yes, they may be able to write grants or do fundraising, but overall the majority of their budget is structured from their local, state, and federal governments. With those budgets, school districts also have to meet complex requirements from local, state, and federal regulations. This can make it very hard for school districts to do what they want to do and be successful in educating our students. However, we do know that students must feel safe and they should feel comfortable before we even attempt to educate them. This is part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where we know that students or anybody must feel safe and secure prior to being able to engage in critical thinking. So school districts do have a ton of strengths. Their first and biggest strength would be the number of passionate employees they have. Very few people that work for a school district are doing so just for the paycheck. School district employees are engaged in school districts because they care about our kids, they care about the communities they work in. And so school districts have that wealth of awesomeness that they can utilize. School districts also have a giant network of families. Every student at a school district has a family, and school districts can leverage that network in a positive way. This network of families exists, and whether schools use it in a positive or negative way, it is up to the school district, but it is a strength that school districts have. School districts also have a power of scale. Whether you're a large district or you're a small district that can have a network of districts, you have great scale in buying power, in bargaining power, and negotiating power with states. And then also, school districts provide an incredibly valuable service. No other organization in the United States strives to educate each and every student in a community, whereas our public schools have this valuable service that anyone can access in their community. Some weaknesses of school districts is their set budgets. So much of the budget is restricted by local, state, or federal funding. It's very hard to increase budgets unless you directly increase enrollments, and then if you increase enrollments, you have additional costs for those additional students. Another weaknesses of school districts across the United States would be their various sizes. You see huge districts of hundreds of schools and school districts of even 2 or 3 schools. This varied size in school districts makes it incredibly hard to have supports that fit all schools in a state or in a country. And so with those varied sizes, you have to get creative in the ways that you support each and every school. And then school districts also have an incredible number of stakeholders. There are students, there are the community, there are politicians, there are the educators and school staff. And each of those groups may want something different from the school, so it can be very hard to get a good reaction from each of those stakeholders. School districts do have incredible opportunities. Overwhelmingly, communities are invested, whether they know it or not, in the success of their public schools. Public schools are incredibly tied to property value, so if anyone owns property in a community, they want to have a better school to increase that property value. If you have children or neighbors' children in a school, you want to have the best possible school to attend. And so school districts can utilize that desire of the community to then engage the community. They can get resources, they can get input, they can get support from community members in a variety of ways. Also right now, there is good federal support for education. Our current First Lady is an educator herself, so from the federal government in Washington, D.C., there is overwhelming support of public education. Obviously, that's not true with the bipartisan system in place in Washington, D.C. However, overwhelmingly, Washington, D.C., the federal government is in support of local public education. And then there's also the opportunity to create partnerships between districts. school districts can work together to increase power for purchasing power or bargaining power with their state or companies. School districts can work together to learn from each other, learn what's going well in each other's districts and how they can improve their own districts, and share what works, and also try and problem solve together. So an opportunity would be for school districts to partner together to improve each other. Some threats. Biggest threat would be media right now. Media is so viewership driven, and the thing that drives viewership the most are big stories. And so you see a lot of focus on media coverage of public schools in negative lights because that drives viewership, whereas you don't see so much coverage of great things that are happening in public schools across the U.S. State governments often support, there are many state governments who support privatization, charter, or voucher programs that pull funding from public schools, which further restricts public schools budgets. And there are some states that are actively working to make more restrictions on public school employees and families who are engaged in public schools. And then there are also private organizations working to make their way into receiving public funding through public education, whether it is privatizing services like custodial or cafeteria services, or privatizing entire schools. You have private organizations that are working to make money off of public education. So our first strategic initiative would be to reduce third-party vendors in schools. This is a huge safety issue because the more people you have in a building who are not part of the actual school district, the higher risk there are involved. You also may not get the same level of cleanliness with third-party vendors because they don't have that same passion for the community, for the school district. So this is working to fix both the cleanliness and the security issues all at once. At least reducing some security issues and increasing cleanliness issues. So our first goal within that would be that school districts or school district partnerships will create in-house hiring and training guidelines for cleanliness and maintenance personnel by school year 2026-2027. The second goal would be to reduce 15% the yearly reduction in, or have a 15% yearly reduction in third-party vendors year over year, just to bring more people in-house to reduce having third-party people in schools. And then the third would be to maintain costs for maintenance and cleanliness costs over a 10-year period, year over year. And that's just really important to make sure that school districts are staying within their budgets and make sure that we are not incurring additional costs. The second strategic initiative would be to increase community involvement in safety and cleanliness. School districts can take advantage of community's vested interests by creating community support teams to support safety and cleanliness in their schools, whether it's a See Something, Say Something program or community beautification and volunteer days. The community can play a huge role in the support of safety and cleanliness in our schools. There are three specific goals within this strategic initiative. The first would be that in school year 2024-2025, 35% of schools will have a community group engage in at least 3 days of service a year. This percentage will increase by 10% each year. The second goal would be by school year 2027-2028, 80% of schools will have in place a community safety team that engages the community on school safety protocols with the proper ways to react to perceived or real threats. And the third goal within the strategic initiative, number 2, would be to improve the cleanliness year over year using a Likert scale of 1 to 10 on cleanliness. School district will see an 8% yearly improvement when given to members of the community. And then our third strategic initiative is to reduce security and cleanliness issues. This is just to very clearly make sure that schools are clean and safe. And to do that, 3 goals within this. By the end of school year 2025, 80% of school districts will have procedures and checks in place to ensure the safety and cleanliness protocols are being met, such as drafting protocols for routine exterior checks and daily checklists for cleaning standards. It is important while doing these checks to make sure that any reductions we see or that are seen are not because things are just not being reported, it is important to make sure we have a protocol in place to create a baseline and then the same checks yearly to make sure that we're meeting that reduction based on those high standards and things aren't going unreported. The second goal within strategic initiative number 3 is that school districts will provide training to 90% of staff on how to ensure school safety protocols must be maintained and how to report safety or cleanliness issues. This is empowering school staff to make sure that they are working and supporting our students in safe and cleanliness standards. And then the third strategic goal within the strategic initiative number 3 would be for school districts to see a 12% year-over-year reduction in each security and cleanliness issues. So just making sure that our schools are becoming cleaner and safer places for students to learn and grow. So in conclusion, our goal for the next 10 years as part of this SWOT analysis is to support student learning through safety and cleanliness. Students will engage more, communities will be more welcoming of a safe and clean school, and this is something that we can replicate across the United States. As we continue to have safer and cleaner schools, our students' engagement will grow, which will support their learning. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Graham Spencer, and this has been my final project presentation for EDL 6120.